old situations always seem to revisit us when we're talking about Queen Sugar. And I'm like, come on through, Cookie. I want up on my soapbox. That's basically it. Let's talk about drag in all its forms. What, Cookie? Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. Let's talk about Queen Sugar. This is season 2, episode 4. Like I said, old things seem to always come back and we have to revisit them. This whole episode, there was, the first thing was there was a problem with the crop. There's these sugar flies or whatever it is that come and they leave this little white stuff on the cane. And it was a problem. So they had to actually go and have like an overhead fertilizing thing done. And then they had to actually go and manually and clean the leaves off and take the leaves that died off and all of that. So all that had to be done. In the process of that, there was, throughout the whole program, we were actually talking about this whole thing of Charlie not fitting in and Charlie being bougie and Micah being raised differently than what they were, than what they were as children and that whole thing. So all of that Charlie had to face up close and personal. Again, the biggest part of it was her and Remy actually got into it right in the beginning because she's looking for a place and he had gone with her to look at one of the properties. Well, naturally it's lavish and it's a little away from her actual meal. Meanwhile, there's like a loft type of space that's actually a part of the meal that she was going to use for like a business space. Remy kept saying to her, you want the farmers to invest in you and your business, but you're presenting yourself like the white folks. You're presenting yourself as an upper echelon person, someone who is so much different than them, and you're going to be living away, And she's like, well, I mean, it's not about a white and black thing. If you work very hard, you could be the boss and then you can live better. That's not, I'm not going to feel bad about that. And he's just saying, just listen to what I'm saying. You have, it's better if you end up living closer and living more modestly and not seeming like you're so much above them. Because again, that is an issue. There was definitely some truth to what he was saying. Another thing is, like she said, am I going to really let people and their bullshit and their issues dictate how I'm going to live when I've actually done the work to actually be able to live a better life? I've done the work. I've made the sacrifices, and so that was kind of what she was actually faced with. Then there's this whole thing. Now, Ralph Angel, God knows I love Ralph Angel, but Ralph Angel was really feeling his puss in this episode. He has done what people do. Remember, the house. Well, we know that the house actually belongs to Ralph Angel and Blue. The house, the farm, all that shit really belongs to Ralph Angel and Blue. He has that paper. Nobody knows about that paper. So in their eyes, a third of that house belongs to Charlie, a third Nova, and a third Ralph Angel. But Ralph Angel was really in his puss, and he was really being some kind of way. So he really kind of bothered me. But he was he had a whole thing where he felt as though he even spoke it. He said, I'm doing her a favor. I'm doing her a favor letting her live in my house. And on Vi was like, your house, she is just as much right to the house as you do. This actually all happened when there was a few little times when there was a little run-in with Micah and Blue. Micah's really on edge, and Blue is just being Blue. He just wants to play. And he kind of went in Micah's stuff, and Micah yelled at him in the beginning. You know, that was a no-no. And then Micah moved really quickly, and he popped Blue, and it scared Blue, which ended up making Ralph Angel yank his ass up so tight, baby. I said, oh. He yanked him up and slammed him against the wall, honey. And Michael was like, ooh, honey. And Charlie immediately, ran for Blue to get Blue because Blue was crying. He never cries. Grandfather didn't play that shit. I didn't play that shit. Blue don't cry. If Blue cries, that whole motherfucking farm will be turned over. So he was like crying. Micah scared him. Honey, Ralph Angel told him, don't you put your goddamn hands on my son ever. I was like, oh shit. So then Charlie had to come and get Ralph Angel to get your goddamn hands off my son. It was a mess. It was a mess. And Ralph Angel took Blue and went in the room and closed the door. And that was just a bad situation, but it could have been talked out very easy. But again, like I said, Ralph Angel was up in his shit and felt as though, this is my fucking house. They ain't coming in here overrunning me and making my baby cry. And it was like, Ralph Angel, I mean, this is just like, because Michael said it was an accident. It was an accident. You know what I mean? He's like, I don't care. It was an accident. Don't make it right. Don't fucking touch my boy, So first, Ralph Angel and Charlie end up having a conversation about it. And Ralph Angel was so mean to Charlie and told her he's soft and he's messed up. And don't sit around and compare his 4 hours being locked up to my 4 years being locked up. Because she said he got messed up, in the little time he spent in there. And I think that you, of all people, would be able to understand that. And he told her, don't ever compare my 4 years to his 4 hours. He's soft. And the problem is you and Davis. You all did that to him because y'all raised him the way y'all did and made him, materialistic, and he had everything. I was like, that was so fucking mean. That was so mean. And it's really not accurate. It's not his fault that he was privileged. You know what I mean? It's like you want him to be raised like a hood rat. Why? Because you were? Like, that's wrong. But Charlie kind of just like took all that, and they ended up squashing it and talking about it later on. But let me tell you what had happened. Because Aunt Vi, when Ralph Angel said what he had to say to Aunt Vi, she took him in there in the house and he showed her the letter. And she said, you don't want this, Ralph Angel. You don't want this at all. This could mess y'all up. You and your sisters up, period. And he's like, but it's mine, it's mine. And he was really feeling it. And he's like, he basically wanted to throw that in Charlie's face. And the thing is, all of this episode, she's been doing what she said she would do. She's been staying out of his face, giving him leeway, letting him be a man, doing all these things and making all these changes to make him more comfortable. And here he is sitting around low key wanting to throw in her face, bitch, this is my farm. And I'm laughing like, yeah, it's your farm, it's your house and all that. And if she pulls her money from up underneath it, you won't have any of it. You won't have any of it. None. And that's what happens. It's anybody who, see, it's such a bad thing. You got to make good decisions as a parent, because it is a big mistake to give, if you have more than one child, to give like one house to multiple people. That's a big mistake. It is a big mistake, and it always ends up being some shit. Because there's somebody that's going to do right, and there's somebody that's not going to do right, and it's always a mess. It's always a mess. Cannot give a house to 3 people. It's fucking bullshit. It'll be a mess. But that's kind of Mm. Anyway, so Vi told him, you know what? It is what it is, and I know you're going to do whatever it is that you want to do, Ralph Angel. But just know when you write that check, you better be willing to cash it. And he was kind of, still in his shit. And then later on that very night, the police showed up at the house, and it really let everybody know where they stood. And that's when all the apologies came about and everything got fixed and everybody got their respect going on the right levels that they should be on. They told Ralph Angel, they said, we're looking for Ralph Angel. Micah went back and sat with Blue. He went right on out of the room and went and sat with Blue. Um, they told Ralph Angel, oh yeah, we heard there were gunshots out here on this land, and that's a violation of your parole. Charlie stepped in and told them, oh no, that was me. I did it. I fired a gun. You remember Ralph Angel fired that gun last week. She said, I did it. And then she schmoozed him. She played bougie. She played that bougie bitch that they're always telling her about her being, and she smoothed it over and took care of it. And Ralph Angel, you can see all in his face, baby. He looked like he had seen a ghost. And he told her, I thank you. She told him at that point, she said, Ralph Angel, you know what? No matter how you feel about me and how you see me, I will always have your back. And she walked off. And he felt like shit. You can see it all over his face. Coffee did that. He did that. He acted the shit out of that part. But he felt like shit about wanting to throw the shit in her face and all of that and giving her such a hard time. And she literally put herself in harm's way to keep him out of harm's way. And she smoothed everything over and they went on. She moved out. She ended up, before all of that, they apologized to each other. Micah got apologized to by Ralph Angel. He apologized to Ralph Angel about it. Ralph Angel told him, anytime you want to talk, you can come and talk to me. I understand this, that, thing, and the other. And he told him, I'm really sorry about hitting Blue. I will never hit him again. It was really an accident. He told him, well, you have to apologize to Blue. He did. He bought him an Etch-a-Sketch baby. And Blue, he's bare minimum. And all he got is that baby doll, Kenya. He don't have a whole lot of lavish stuff. It was a nice Etch-a-Sketch. Honey, that Blue was so happy, honey. He hugged Micah around the neck. And he loves Micah. He does. You could tell he really enjoys Micah. And he just wanted to play with Micah. And he says, I'm sorry I didn't ask you, did you want to play? And he told me, you don't ever have to ask me to play. This, that, thing, and the other. So that was really good. Then they showed where Charlie decided to move into the loft at the mill. And they were making jokes again about how long will she actually last. She's like, whatever, I'm gonna be fine. Now keep in mind, when they had to do that manual labor out there, uh, Ralph Angel had called Darla and told her he needed her. This was the dumbest shit in the world. So Darla asked her boss if she could go home. First, he was yelling at her. He's mean as hell. We've seen that man on a couple different occasions. That motherfucker's just mean. But she asked, could she go home? She needed to do something for her boyfriend. It wasn't about the baby. He told her, no, you do your love life on your time, and that's it. You leave when your shift is over. Dummy ended up leaving, and when she came back, he fired her. I don't know what the fuck Darla thought was going to happen, but she got fired, and the last thing we seen is she said, please don't fire me. This job is a part of my recovery. He said being part of your recovery is also owning up to what you've done and the reactions that come along with what you did. Just mean. And I understood him firing her. It was what it was. Now I'm wondering if we're going to see a backslide or a fuck up from Darla. Because now our world's being shook. That's the worst thing. A person in recovery, when you shake the foundation, it could throw them off. So I'm wondering if that's what we're getting ready to go into it, Darla, but we'll be watching to see what actually happens. Last thing that I'm going to talk about here, Aunt Vi and Hollywood. Hollywood is restless. He don't know what to do with himself. And he's about getting a job. And then he asked Aunt Vi, what does your dreams look like? She said, I worked my butt off to get that promotion down at my job. She's managing. And he said, but you don't look happy. When I see you in there, you're not happy. Only time I really see you happy is when you're in your kitchen. And she said, yeah, and he said, well, what do your dreams look like? And she basically said, probably like owning my own business. I like making people happy with my food. So I think what's getting ready to happen is, because he was telling her, we both of them, we're not too old to do what we want to do. And I think that being around Charlie and different things like that, and her being around, and the whole thing with the mill and the farm and all of this, I think it has actually sparked something up underneath Hollywood. And you can see Aunt Vi's wheels kind of turning. And I think she's going to try to do her own cooking business, and that's going to be really, really good. That is ideal. And that's really what she should do, because she worked so hard. Why work that hard for somebody else? Work that hard for your goddamn self. So I'm interested to see what actually goes on from here. It's, good. I love this little program. But that's it. So I don't think I left anything out. I will talk to you guys next week. All right. Bye, guys.